everyone, and I thank you so much for being part of this very special event. It's the Malabar Gold and Diamonds Golden Girls She Smiles Conclave, and I am truly blessed to be in the company of so many golden girls that I see there, and their supporters, their friends and family members who actually help them get out there and make a difference. Thank you to you all as well for joining us. Tonight, the focus, the topic is to say, can she do it all? Can a woman really have it all? Essentially, if you ask me, yes, she can. And there is absolutely no doubt about what a woman's capabilities are and what she can achieve. The focus has to be, how do we ensure that we provide an environment, that we create an environment, a society that helps us achieve it all? How can we have an environment that helps more golden girls come out of their cocoons, find their own strength, and then achieve whatever they want to, whether it's inside the homes or outside the homes, in whichever field. Let's begin by talking about, maybe a couple of our own experiences. Something in life that you would like to share with us that changed the entire course of life for you.
For me, I actually had the honor to go to the Women Economic Forum in April of this year, where I received the award, Young Leaders Creating a Better Change for All. And over there, I met a lot of women CEOs, women entrepreneurs, people who work in empowerment in certain fields. And I feel like that was a defining moment for me, personally, because when I saw so many individuals, accomplishing so much, while handling all the backlash, stereotypes, myths, etc., and still managing to break the glass ceiling and come in front, that changed the perspective of whether women can have it all.
In your own workplace, how do you ensure that more women get to simply be normal, just like any man, any woman, any gender, and still achieve what they want?
So I work in real estate. It is a fairly male-dominated industry, especially in the construction business. If you look at the statistics, on average, most construction or real estate development companies have about 15 to 17% of female diversity. We've been actively trying to push that to almost 30%. So we're at around 25%. We're trying to push that to 30%. But it's not just about creating diversity for diversity's sake. So what we try to do is, obviously, if all things considered, we try to encourage more women to be accepted with the company. And we also, I think the most important thing in India is providing a safe and secure environment for women to work in. Because when our female engineers go onto the construction site, they're working with hundreds of other men, laborers, whatever it is. So the important thing is to provide a safe environment for women to work in. And I think we actively try to have policies that do that.
Often when a woman gets married or, when she decides to have a family, that's where it becomes difficult to manage everything, to manage your home, to manage two families, to bring up a child. How do we ensure that we still give a level playing field?
I actually feel like a lot of women in the media continue to be in the media even after they have children and even after they get married, but they may change their role in a certain way. For example, I think if a person was a reporter or in all their lives for say 15 years or 20 years, when they were going out and reporting, maybe after they have a child, they start to decide that they do more of a production role within the newsroom, or maybe more of an anchoring role, which is more predictable in terms of timing and all of that. So I feel like they change the roles, but I don't see that many women leaving the industry. They also go into senior positions, but again, in production, still the topmost decision making, I feel, is being still held very closely by the men. Maybe that will change in time. What will change for women to continue to be reporters and all of that is if the organization helps them do that, if there is a support in terms of the vehicle that you take, there's support in terms of I don't have to come to the office, take the vehicle, go out on the field, come back to the office, where it's understood that you'll deliver on the work and you don't have to do the, which any reporter understands, but especially women who may be on the way to work picking up their kid and then also be on the phone interviewing somebody. I mean, we don't have to be in an office as a reporter. But if this is understood by the newsroom, I think more and more women will stay in those dynamic roles of being reporters, being camera people, still going out on the field. And they are fantastic. And I'm saying they because I don't want to include myself in this, but it's so good, that dynamism that people can bring when they are women on the field. So they shouldn't have to stop that.
All right. Let's also at this point welcome and say good evening to Rashmi, founder of FreshMenu. Thank you so much for joining us. If you would want to share an experience or a story of how you have seen somebody bring about a change, or you are doing that yourself.
Something that I completely see that is changing is from family side, that there's a lot of support for women to do their best and to go out and work, which I think in last decade has changed much faster than it was changing before. Aspiration, and for women's aspiration to be met, there's a lot more that is being supported from family side. I think there's a whole lot more that needs to be done. But that's the first change, because women need that moral support and, confidence from the side that while I'm out to work, there is more that gets taken care of, and people understand the compulsions of work today. I think family has a huge role to play. I think if that was to happen, I think the environment would get much better, much faster.
So let's narrow it down. Like you said, it's a huge, vast topic, and let's narrow it down to say support from family. But what about the youngsters, the millennials, and those in the 30s and early 40s as well, who don't have their family around, who are living in these cities, both husband and wife are working, they have little children. The family support is also difficult and hard to come by. Then how do we ensure that they still don't struggle?
I think support structures, and I feel they're improving. For example, the creche at the office premises, better maternity leaves. I think these are just more confidence building measures that yes, there is, you don't need to drop out of workforce. Because I think early on still a lot of girls join. I think they start dropping out pretty quickly, and that's one thing that can be stopped.
So actually, let's come back to the dropout aspect, and Nirupa, if you could come in on that one. In India, we are still talking about a good amount of maternity leave. We've not come to the point where we say there should be an equal amount of paternity leave. Because unless and until you start, making people realize that the responsibility is equal for a father and a mother, women will probably always be at a disadvantage at work, because it will always be expected that they're the ones who go on a leave for 6 weeks or 6 months or 9 months. How do we ensure that the responsibility then becomes on both?
So again, that's a huge issue, but that requires a lot of re-socializing, right? Because in most organizations, of course, now thankfully government has made the maternity leave 6 months instead of 3 months. So I personally am looking forward to that. And I think what I want to point out is that, in today, I think it's more acceptable for women to be breadwinners and caregivers. But that same philosophy, unfortunately, is not applied to men as well. Like, it's not as socially acceptable for men to take a 100% caregiving job.
Yes.
So I think a bit of re-socializing in the sense that, everybody, when you say, can you have it all? What do you mean by having it all, first of all? Is it like success in your career? Is it just mental and physical well-being? So if you're talking about career, the whole, most men get or society puts emphasis on success based on how much you earn, what is your title, this and that. So for men, I think it is personally, they still get a lot of that social worth and affirmation from their jobs. Whereas for women, it's okay to not work. It's not looked upon as something different. So what I'm trying to say is today, women actually have more choices than men to either choose a job or not choose a job, to be a caregiver, be a breadwinner, whatever it is.
Okay, very, very interesting. Rashmi, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I do actually. The hunger and the ferocity of a mother who is working in an office is a completely different level. So that I would say is, it's a myth that often gets perpetuated that someone who is a mom is chilling with their feet up on the desk. I don't think so. And the other thing I wanted to say is also in terms of keeping your family supportive, you can't choose your parents, but you sure can choose your spouse. So I would say marry a feminist. for sure. I mean, I was lucky to have a feminist father who didn't know he was feminist, but he never stopped me from studying what I wanted, to learn how to ride a bike, go out. He gave me freedom in useful ways, I think. And freedom becomes a habit, and you take it to your adulthood. And after that, I think the conversations that you have with your spouse at home, they are taking those conversations back to their office also, I think. If they are never negotiating with a woman at home about who's going to do the dishes, who's going to, you know, wash the child's bum, if you're not ever going to have these conversations, they don't know that these things exist in somebody else's house also. So when they are back in office, I think they do, if they may decide to dismiss it, but I think most men who will have an open mind, especially those who may not call themselves feminists but are in every way, they take back those experiences and that push and pull that you have with your spouse, they take it to the office, and they make better policies, I think.
They make better policies, and I think
they're more likely to.
Yes, yes. Give us an insight into how youngsters are viewing this. Are there more feminist boys, you know, who understand that there are no specific roles, that it's not just the woman's job to take care of the child, or it's not just the woman's job to wash his clothes or cook? Are youngsters seeing it differently?
So I believe that our generation is much more aware than the ones before us, and we are much more exposed to all of these real world problems such as gender inequality and what gender roles really are. That being said, I think in our society still we have a lot of unconscious gender inequality which takes place. And in this case, having an open conversation between men, women, and of all genders in fact is very important. Right? Because even though we say that when we talk about feminist or women empowerment, we generally think it's just the female's role in it. But really, a society is made up of both males as well as females. So if you want to ensure gender equality for all, it's important to have a culmination of both. When we're talking about feminist men, feminist boys, I think the culture is slowly coming into play. Because still there are a lot of families which have still not yet come out of that cycle of gender inequality and myths. Or for example, right, I work in the field of reproductive health, and so we promote an open conversation on menstruation. But a lot of families, they tell their girls never to talk openly about it, and they never teach their boys about it either. Even though we say that we are in a more woke society where everybody is more aware about gender inequality, etc., it finds its way to creep into it somehow. While I agree and that there is a shift, right, in perspective which is taking place, it's taking place slowly because it has been so etched into who we are and all our generations, right, that breaking that cycle won't happen all at once. So we're looking at a generation of people who are more aware, but we haven't yet achieved that.
Right. And you know, we've made a beginning, like you said, but we have a long, long way to go. This is one of my favorite stories that I often say now, and in one of similar conversations that I was having, this lady told us that they were working with the government on a project to build toilets for men and women. And in one of their first experiments in the project that they built, the woman toilet was not being used at all. You know, some would go in, come out, not use it at all. At one point, it was just empty. And they kept trying to figure out what was wrong. So the entire team of government officials, along with their advisors and the architects, they kept wondering. They changed the design a little bit, asked a few people around. It took them a really, really long time until they met this panelist to figure that in this entire planning and design, there was no woman involved. So they didn't know what goes into a design for a woman toilet. So starting from the boardroom or, you know, the government office and the secretaries who were involved, to the people and the private companies that they hired and their board of directors, to the very next and next and next level, there was actually no woman involved in the entire cycle, so they completely missed the bus on what a woman really wants inside that building and that had been created to make it functional and usable for her. So, I mean, my takeaway from that story is that if we want to bring about a change, it can only be when we have women representation. It can only be when we have more women in our parliaments and we ask our political parties to ensure that there are more women candidates who get to represent us. It can only be when we have more women in our newsrooms, in our corporate offices, you know, even teachers who listen more to what the students are telling them. We can only bring about a change if a part of the entire decision-making process has more women, and then we listen and build a path for everybody else to come on board. We can't just stop at achieving for ourselves. We can't just stop at breaking the glass ceiling for ourselves. We have to look back and say, let's create a path so that more golden girls can walk up that path and achieve it all, in a sense. So, but thank you so much for all of you for joining us this evening on this special conversation. Thanks.
After the She Smiles Conclave, the Malabar Gold and Diamonds Golden Girls celebration included awe-inspiring talks by a series of dignitaries and speeches from female trailblazers from the field of entertainment, the police force and athletics. And lastly, breathtaking performances by the Golden Girls themselves. All that and more coming after the break. Stay tuned. The Malabar Gold and Diamonds Golden Girls She Smiles Conclave concluded with a glittering evening gala wherein top female student talent from colleges across Karnataka performed for a live audience of upwards of 400 people. 5 finalists were also awarded the Golden Girl title for their exceptional skills in the field of yoga, dance, acting, singing, and performing magic tricks. Director Bennett Coleman and Company, Deepak Saluja, took the stage to explain the concept of the Golden Girls initiative.
To our partners and the leadership team of Malabar Gold and Diamonds, my colleagues from Times of India, ladies and gentlemen, every one of us is unique, and that is what prompted us in Times to come out with this concept of the Golden Girl. Our endeavor in Golden Girl was to try and groom the next generation of girls to become more self-aware, more self-confident, and more socially conscious.
Later in the evening, Managing Director, India Operations Malabar Gold and Diamonds, Ashar Uttamachikal, shed more light on how Malabar has embraced and rallied behind the underlying premise of the Golden Girls platform.
This Golden Girl program, maybe it is just a contest for the participant today. But our request to the winners is that you should not leave this talent. You have to nurture it. You have to develop it. Reach in bigger heights, be a part of building a better nation, and our objective will be fulfilled if we can contribute a little bit by participating or promoting these kind of programs. And I congratulate all of the winners, and as a part of women empowerment during the course of this Golden Girl program, we also have decided that majority of our customers are women, but the ratio of our employees or the salespeople in the showroom, it is mostly men or boys. So we decided the ratio should be changed. We should promote more women in the sales or in the front end and give more opportunity to them to showcase their talents.
CEO of Vijay Karnataka, Ranjit Kate, then congratulated all the Golden Girls winners and applauded the organizers supporting the cause.
We are talking about Golden Girls, and we just saw the winners of Karnataka state and the talent they represented. I think it gives us hope that there may be difficulties in our country, but I think India has to leverage the potential of women, Indian women, and I think this program is a wonderful program, and I congratulate the Malabar Gold team, Times of India team, and I wish the team all the best for rolling it out in other states in India. Thank you.
The Malabar Gold and Diamonds Golden Girls celebration concluded with moving speeches from actress Sruthi Hariharan, IPS officer Roopa D, international athlete Reeth and international swimmer Nisha Millet. The Golden Girls initiative, in its attempt to identify and recognizing top female talent from across India's community of colleges, is headed to a city near you next. Stay tuned.